John in Littleton, Colorado. John, it says here you're a Trump supporter. Your thoughts on what Mr. Romney just said about your candidate?
Yeah, hey, Tom. I actually had never heard of you before. I just was going through my mom's cable here, and pretty interesting program. So I guess I don't really care a lot what Mitt had to say. I think he just sort of represents this whole, what seems to be, based on polling, brand of conservatism that I think is kind of dying out. I have been waiting for years and years to have this schism sort of come out of what I have believed for years to be the root of my party anyway.
Yeah.
You know, this sort of, tiptoeing around political correctness and that, so I'm glad that this element is finally starting to develop, and I think you're gonna see conservatives that are gonna maybe want to peel off at least on the sort of authoritarian type, neocon angle, that I have always adhered to, and maybe just drive a wedge further into, I hate to say it, but, maybe another, secession from the United States. Civil War should have never happened, and I think you're sort of seeing that incarnation come up.
That's very interesting. Were you a Bush Cheney guy?
Yeah. My dad was in the military. He just recently retired from the Army. And
my dad was a Republican. I'm real familiar with the Republican Party. In fact, I was 13 years old in 1964. My dad and I went door to door for Barry Goldwater. So it's like that's how long I've been really aware of the Republican Party. And my dad's Republican Party, Eisenhower's Republican Party, would never talk about cutting Social Security, or much less privatize it. Supported union rights. In fact, Dwight Eisenhower ran for re-election in 1956 on the fact that he had added more than 2 million people to the union rolls in the United States and expanded Social Security to include disabled people. Would never have signed crazy trade deals. The old Republican Party was totally down with 20 to 30% tariffs that we had on manufactured goods coming in from overseas, which kept our jobs here in the United States. The old Republican Party, up until Reagan changed things in '86 with the immigration reform, actually put rich white employers in jail when they hired people who were here without documentation so that they could pay them less and exploit them. The old Republican, and it seems to me that Donald Trump in some ways is shouting out to that old Republican Party base. Now, he's added to it this kind of bellicosity that you just identified, John, the muscularity, the testosterone thing of, we're the tough guys, we're going to go kick ass around the world. Dwight Eisenhower was the opposite of that. He had actually seen war, he'd seen people die, and he was very, 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 very much opposed to unnecessary wars. I mean, he fought World War II. He thought that was a necessary war. But I'm curious your thoughts on that. I mean, do you think that Trump is returning by saying that he's not going to cut Social Security, he's going to blow up these trade deals and bring back tariffs? Do you think that Trump is taking the Republican Party back to its reasonable roots, or are those not the reasons why you support him? Is it either you support him because of the political correctness? In other words, hey, it's okay to use profane language, or to use to make fun of disabled people like Donald Trump did, for example, or quite frankly,
racist dog whistle comments.
Right.
I'm the first to admit I am an avowed racist. And I know a lot, and some of my friends in our private social circles, that's why I was speaking to earlier. I think that this schism is going to bring out a lot of, people that have always been afraid to say, the things that they wanted to say. I think Trump might be going to the middle a little bit to try to get some of those moderate voters to gain power. But I think that his heart truly lies within, authoritarian, racist, sort of attitudes toward people and Muslims and anti-immigrants. I mean, I'm talking about going back to the Gilded Age.
Actually, I think you're talking about going back to 1932 in Germany, aren't you?
That might.
I'm curious, John.
Well.
You said you're an avowed racist. The racists, the white racists that I've known, and have basically fallen into two camps. One, the probably much larger camp, believes in white superiority and thus white supremacy,
correct.
And the other camp believes in white separation. They believe white people and black people are probably, very, very similar, but hey, let's separate. Which of those camps are you in?
I definitely fall into the sort of genetic superiority, the Caucasian, regions having been a lot more, harder to navigate. You had to think more to find food, whereas you had, blacks came from Africa. It wasn't, they didn't have to think as hard. That's the approach that I'm coming
so did
from
white people.
myself.
Well, I'm not going to debate you on this, John. I think your words, frankly, indict you, at least on this program. But I find this fascinating. Do you your friends who are racists, they're all Trump supporters also?
Definitely, and that's why I think that and I believe that there are a lot more closeted racists out there, and
Sure.
And I think that Trump is sort of now that this is becoming the mainstream, and that you have more mainstream Republicans, he's polling at incredible numbers. I'm thinking that you're having these we're not quite racist, so we kind of have to do the dog whistle,
Yeah.
dance.
It's like Jeff Sessions still won't put down the KKK, or at least he hasn't, to the best of my knowledge. That sort of thing. That's what you're talking about.
Right. Well,
and by the way, John, when it's my opinion, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, that when the Republican Party says we're the party of small government, they're not talking about small government if they want to have more wars. I mean, the more than half of our federal budget is military. So I think that what they're saying is we are the party of no more benefits for poor people of color. Does that comport with your view?
I think so. Kind of going back to Lee Atwater's force busting comments. Back in the I believe it was the 80s.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to just kind of like a dog whistle variation of such. But what is your official stance? Do you think that the Civil War should have ever happened? I mean, if you guys want to move forward with your Thomas Jefferson's vision for this country, I mean, I think you guys should just let us have our plantation economies and just leave us alone.
Yeah.
If you want to have these moderate Republicans, they can go toward that vision. But I think just.
Do you want to bring back slavery? Is that what you're saying, John?
I'm not saying that maybe we should have brought back slavery, but should it have been the Civil War ever happened on account of it, that we might have moved away from that? I'm not really sure. Plantation economies work really, really great for more skilled people.
For the plantation owners, they worked really great. The skilled people were the slaves. They did the work. The city that I'm sitting in right here, the District of the God, this was built by slave labor. This, where I am, not necessarily this building, but certainly buildings on the street that I'm sitting on here.
Well, skilled in economics and maybe skilled in ways to screw other people. I would say that that's a variation on intelligence. If you can con someone else into maybe building you a building, and
which takes you back to your philosophy of white supremacy.
That is correct.
Yeah, very interesting. John, thank you for calling, and thank you for your candor. Look forward to talking to you. Well, maybe. Look forward to talking to you again. Whew. To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.